This is the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum for Colorado Springs City Council District 5. I'm your host, Tammy Harold, admin team member and treasurer for the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak region. In partnership with NAACP Colorado Springs, we are coming to you live from Temple Bet Torah. Your candidates for us tonight running for City Council District 5 are Christopher Burns, Nancy Hingham, Cass Moline, and Jim Miller. Your moderator for tonight's forum is Angela Reeves, NAACP Colorado Springs President, admin team member and advocacy team chair for the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak region. I'm going to turn it over to Angela to introduce herself and get our forum started.
Good evening. My name is Angela Stevens. And welcome tonight. All right. No, you're fine. You're fine. We will get right to it and have the first candidates in alphabetical order. Candidate Burns will give 2 minutes opening statement, followed by candidate Hingham, and then candidate Moline, and then candidate Miller. Mr. Burns.
Great. Well, thank you all very much, and thanks for this opportunity to talk in this forum. I really appreciate it. My name is Chris Burns, and my website is electchrisburns.com. Obviously, as you're aware, I'm running for District 5 City Councilman. So I have lived in this city for over 30 years. I came here with Olympic dreams as an athlete, and when those dreams didn't necessarily materialize, I went ahead and began my university education at UCCS right here in the Springs. I also gained not only a degree, but also a commission in the United States Army, where I went off for 4.5, 5 years and served in the Army, then returned to the Springs after completing my tour, and I then went ahead and affiliated and joined the National Guard. While I was doing that, I went ahead and applied to the Colorado Springs Police Department, and I was very thankful that in 1998 I was accepted into the academy and became a police officer, and I have done that job for 24 years, retiring in 2022. After my retirement, I went and joined the Colorado Springs Subcommittee for Law Enforcement Advisory, where I could continue to contribute and improve the department. During that time, we grappled with a lot of issues, and one of my primary issues and the thing that prompted me to run is public safety. I am absolutely committed to improving public safety. Also, I'm committed to lowering housing costs. I believe we need a balanced and practical approach to address that both in infill and with expansion. And with that, I have 2 grown daughters that will soon return to my community after college and look for those first places to live. And with that, I ask for your vote. This is a tough vote, and I am running against the incumbent. And with that, I will turn it over to her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris. And yes, my name is Nancy Hingham. I want to say I'm really grateful to the League of Women Voters for the work you do in educating voters, both about the importance of voting, but also giving them the opportunity to meet candidates. It's very important. So thank you for that. I'm also really grateful to have been fortunate enough to be a resident of Colorado Springs for 35 years, and actually 39 if you count the 4 years I was a kid on the Air Force Academy. And 34 of those years have been right here in District 5 in the same house. I have experience of being a mom and raising my children here. I now have 2 grandchildren who are moving back this summer. I'm so excited, and they are wanting to live in District 5, of course, to be next to Grandma. So I'm very excited about that. But I am the incumbent, and I have the advantage of being able to tell you what I've done and what I will continue to do. So I have a proven record. And some of the accomplishments I've had have been stopping the extension of Constitution Avenue by listening to neighbors who were very concerned about and bringing them together. I have listened to the neighbors of Rustic Hills and helped to get them stormwater improvements and paved roads. And I've responded to the challenges at the Citadel Mall by bringing people together, all kinds of stakeholders, to make that mall a safer place and more activated. Those are the kinds of things that I've done, and I will continue to do. And given the growth that we're having, I want my children to be able to have an affordable house here. That is the big challenge that we face based on the challenges water and really current infrastructure challenges that we have. So I look forward to continuing to serve the residents of District 5. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from the rest of my fellow candidates.
First of all, I want to say thank you for putting this on. It's awesome to be able to come out and talk and connect with you guys. My name is Cass Moline. I am running for District 5. I have been in Colorado Springs for about 13 years. Like a lot of our residents, the military originally brought me here. When I was in the military, I did contract law and did that for about 10 years. Now what that entails is purchasing anything that a base needs, which much like a city, it's all the stuff and all the services and repairs that go into maintaining a base. And so I got a lot of experience in seeing how things function, and I really came to understand the importance of accountability and transparency in how those funds were utilized and spent for our tax dollars and for the constituents. And when I realized that City Council was open for elections in my district, I decided that this was an opportunity for me to be able to get involved in a more impactful and meaningful way to ensure that I can bring that accountability and transparency to my constituents and ensure that we're spending our funds appropriately. Now, public safety is my #1 issue that I want to make sure that we address. Public safety is a foundation for a city growing. And then next would be our infrastructure. I want to ensure that our infrastructure is in place to be able to handle some of this affordable housing that we're trying to put in. If we don't address our infrastructure, then putting in the housing might bring more crime and be harder for us to maintain. So those are the 3 issues that I would like to tackle. So thank you very much.
All right, I guess it's my turn, isn't it? Everybody can hear me, right? Good. My name's Jim Miller. I did run for mayor. I'm doing this now. I was pretty much sick of the way everything's been going. Nobody ever listens, nobody ever cares with the city with anything until there's a large group or a committee or somebody that did a donation. I am just a guy. I have normal arguments with my wife. She'll say I'm handsome, and I say your glasses are over there on the table. I argue with my kids about not doing their homework. But what got me into all this is that there was 4 convicted felon pedophiles living next door to my house. We live next door to a church, and I sure hear a lot of talk about public safety. This sounds like a lot of talk. So it does irritate and frustrate me. This isn't the first time or the last time I'll bring this up until it is resolved and fixed. For further context, my daughter's a survivor of it. Nobody seems to care about her comfort, her mental health, her safety, or her safe spot. I do believe that the incumbent was up there when I was brought up to City Council to speak upon this, and I was not just ignored, but not even contacted till I came up to run for City Council. I want the city, to be better, excuse me. Colorado Springs has now turned into what? Everywhere else. It is ripped apart and destroyed. This is not what it's supposed to be. Even with the position of City Council, I would like it to where it's more of a community meeting. We're gathered, we're getting together. Tuesday at 11, not good enough. We're all at work and busy. How about Sunday afternoon after church, and we can all get together in the park and sit down and talk to each other and bring the sense of community back that has died and been forgotten here in town. I'm Jim Miller. It's District 5. Jim Miller for Colorado is the website if you want to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now on to our candidate questions. This one just came in this evening. Clearly, one of the primary duties and responsibilities of City Council is managing the city's growth. Please describe your values and priorities as you approach this aspect of the job. And the first question goes to Mr. Burns, then Mr. Moline, then Mr. Miller, and then Ms. Henjum. 30 seconds.
Oh,
That's a lot in 30 seconds.
so real quick, we need a pragmatic, balanced approach. If we take a bolder approach and lock out all development, we're asking for residences that are in excess of $1 million. One of the challenges that the developers bring forward is that they build, but they build higher-end units. We need lower-end units that working people can afford, and in particular, new people into the job market, new tradespeople, recent graduates, and laborers such as police officers, teachers, and firefighters need to be able to afford to live in this community.
Thank you. Mr. Moline? Same question.
So I think that we need to look at addressing what our infrastructure can hold, things like our water, our electricity, our plumbing. Those are things that people don't think about. And then we need to address whether it is affordable to be putting in some of those units. And so that would be what I would focus on to ensure that we grow in a responsible way and bring down the cost at the same time.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
So maybe the city's grown enough. Maybe we have enough people. We don't have a lot of resources. Let's start being practical, a lot smarter with this. The city has continued to ask for dinner, and before it's finished its plate, it's asked for seconds, thirds, and fourths, forgetting about all of us that pay for, work here, and live here, and have done everything here. The basis of the city should not be excessive growth and building. How about we start doing how good it is with how good the neighborhoods are around the schools, the parks, the churches, and the daycares?
Thank you. Ms. Henjum?
Thank you. A number of the approaches have been mentioned, and I certainly appreciate those and agree with those in terms of looking at water and infrastructure needs. I'm actually going to take this as an opportunity to share. I was today at a luncheon for We Fortify, and there are organizations like We Fortify who are building tiny homes with supportive services surrounding them to help people be able to live in affordable homes. They're working on one right now with District 2 for teachers, and I'm already done. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So then the next question. Yes, yes. What are your general concerns regarding annexation of areas under development adjacent to Colorado Springs city limits? And our order will be Mr. Moline, Mr. Miller, Ms. Henjum, and then Mr. Burns. Mr. Moline?
Yeah, so annexations have...
30 seconds.
So the city has a lot of tools that it can use to manage growth. Annexation is one of those. When it comes to annexations, I really would like to look at, one, the water impact, two, the electrical costs of bringing in electrical, the plumbing infrastructure, the roads to ensure that we have adequate roads in and out. As well, I would want to look at the cost after we put those in. The whole purpose is to put in affordable housing and bring down the costs. If we're going to have costs increase, then it's a defeat of the purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
All right, annexations, irritating, annoying. Nobody thinks about the safety part of it, right? The fire trucks, the police station, schools, infrastructure. Yes, water, we got it. The cost of electricity and utilities. It's getting pretty out of control, isn't it? So it's pretty simple, but let's start taking care of what we have first before we start annexing more and more and more and more things. I don't want affordable housing. I would like and prefer affordable living first, and that will translate to affordable housing. Cut the cost here first.
We just voted this Tuesday on an annexation that is incorporating a part of the city into the city, which is in an enclave. And that enclave was created by years and years ago in annexing land into the city that was far outside the city boundaries. We can't be annexing that way. It makes sense to bring enclaves into the city, and if there is a need to annex it, the property needs to be adjacent to the city boundaries.
Thank you. Mr. Burns?
So the question was, what are the big concerns about annexation? And there are many. But one of my big concerns, and a lot of people don't realize this, in particular with flagpole annexations, is that when that annexation occurs, the city utilities are legally obligated to supply all of the resources to that area, run the lines, run the pipes. By law, they have to do that. That's at a huge cost, and that cost is then amortized out to the residents that aren't even living in that annexed area yet. So that's going to pass that cost on to all of those future residents.
Thank you. All right, so for the next question, the order will be Mr. Miller, Ms. Henjum, Mr. Burns, and Mr. Moline. 30 seconds for the question. Do you support increasing city council pay? And how would you work to make council positions more accessible to the average citizen?
Ooh, I like this one. So city council doesn't get paid anything. It's a measly, $5,000-$6,000 stipend. So it makes it unavailable to the average everyday working people. We should have more representatives in all these local political positions. So yes, $400 to $700 a week I think's good. You want to know where I'll get the funding from? Every one of these elected officials should not make more than the median income of where they live and they are from. It is a waste. This is not a career. It is a burden like jury duty because you want things better where you live.
We are no longer a small city and a city manager form of government. We are now a strong mayor form of government. Our mayor earns about $150,000 a year, and it's time that we grow up our city council and have it be a professional position devoted to the very complex issues of Colorado Springs. And we need to have greater representation, people who otherwise could never afford to run for city council. So absolutely, I support city council pay.
So this is Chris Burns, and the national average for cities of our size, for city council people, is a salary of about $40,000 a year. We are the outlier in that we don't pay our city council a living wage. In order to bring people into the race and into service of the city, yes, pay them a living wage. I would be in favor of that. I'm also in favor of saying I would be willing to forego that if it occurred under my watch, because I would be voting for my own pay increase, which is a little ironic.
Mr. Moline?
I would support council pay. It is time that our city attracts good quality candidates, and we are able to allow the diversity of our city to be represented, as well as getting new ideas and perspectives that maybe a single mom being at home or a layman or blue collar worker would provide to the city council. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then the next question. All right. So the next question, the order will be Ms. Henjum, Mr. Burns, Mr. Moline, and then Mr. Miller. You can take a minute for this question. What do you think City Council can do for homeless veterans?
For homeless veterans in particular? Well, I think all of our homeless population need services. I don't have a particular solution for homeless veterans. I think we need to provide outreach services. We need to reach out to the people who are on the street and help connect them with the services that they need, whether that be education or mental health services. We need to provide prevention to keep people off the street, including opportunities like being able to rent a Pike ride for $35 a month that our Pike share makes available. That there's testimony that keeps those people at their job on time and keeps a roof over their head. And then we also need to provide sheltering. And I think I'm just about out of time. Thank you.
Mr. Burns?
So how do we help our homeless veterans? I am a veteran. I am a veteran of the Iraq conflict as well. I have personal friends that struggle with homelessness. And I will tell you, one of the biggest things is the challenge that veterans with challenging mental health issues, unfortunately many times brought around by that combat service, struggle with systems. They struggle with bureaucracies. When I was a police officer, my first question many times to a person I'd encounter is, are you a veteran? Sometimes they'd say yes. If that were the case, I'd take personal interest in that person and try to work as a liaison between that veteran and the veteran services that are so, some people call it challenge, but I've found the veteran services here available in this town if you raise your hand and say, I need help. Again, there are mental health challenges that many times, and unfortunately addiction challenges that prevent veterans from getting services. So building those individual relationships with those homeless veterans and walking with them through benefits.
Thank you. Mr. Moline?
As a disabled veteran myself, veterans hold a soft spot in my heart. A lot of the times, veterans, when they are homeless, it's because they have undiagnosed mental health issues. And so what I would like to see happen is an expansion of the training of the HOT team across all first responders to be able to identify and have more options with dealing with veteran homelessness than just ticketing and then eventual arrest, which perpetuates the cycle of incarceration. I think that there's an opportunity for us to expand the interaction and the reach with them and be able to prioritize a lot of their needs to connect them with a lot of the programs that are already out there for them that they don't know about. So that's where I would like to see change happen. Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
Homeless veterans. I'm a Marine. I'm a veteran. Kind of grumbly, but you know what? It's unacceptable. That's why I'm kind of grumbly about it. Shouldn't be having homeless veterans. How about partnering up a little bit better with the VA? So if a homeless veteran is picked up, it's kind of right straight there. Hey, XYZ, here's the person they do or don't have or may not have XYZ IDs, so on and so forth. Let's get them a little bit of help with where they need to be, where at in the building, or even if it eventually has to go up to Denver or wherever else to which VA clinic and establishment for them. It's an unacceptable issue. I mean, this shouldn't even be happening. I've helped a couple veterans myself. I'm not really one that always needs a program to do the right thing. We just need to be a better community with it as well. Unacceptable issue entirely.
Thank you. All right. The next question, order of answering, Mr. Burns, Mr. Moline, Mr. Miller, and Ms. Henjum. All right. And you can have a minute to answer this question. Please describe your position on immigrants moving to Colorado Springs in particular, those seeking asylum in the U.S. due to dangers in their home countries.
Yeah, thanks for the question. One of the organizations that I volunteer with is Lutheran Family Services, and I volunteer with their refugee program. And I partner with Afghan refugees in this community that have been brought here under visas. When you say immigrants, I welcome immigrants to this country. I welcome them to this community, and my actions have shown that. The challenge we have are with two categories. One is called undocumented immigrants, and one is called criminal immigrants. I'll address the first. Undocumented immigrants, we should be pretty much hands-off. Let that work with the federal side. With criminal immigrants, criminal aliens, those are people who have been adjudicated as having committed offenses in this country and present a threat to our community. We should partner with our federal agencies to have those people removed from the country and removed from our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moline?
Immigration contributes a lot to our economy. Immigrants last year contributed millions of dollars in tax revenue to us. The issue really comes down to when we have illegal immigration in our state. That causes a burden to our resources, a burden to our hospitals, our shelters, and that is really taking away services from our U.S. citizens that we have. And I think that it should be a priority that we prioritize them and getting them the services and the helps that they need over illegal immigration. I think, along with Mr. Burns, I think a hands-off approach to the federal issues with them handling the undocumented is appropriate. I think that if we are going with the criminal aspects of it, we need to do everything we can for public safety. Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't want to cut him off. I didn't know if he paused
Oh,
or something.
oh.
He might have took a breath. We don't know. Anyways, I come from immigrants. A lot of us come from immigrants. But a lot of our families came here legally in the proper way. I know mine came here legally and had their name changed from Leah Groche to Lionheart and all kinds of goofy, nonsensical things. The name is in the title. Take care of the people that are here first. Illegal is illegal. Go through the proper steps and the proper procedures and do the thing. And if you want to be legal, look, let's be straight. For 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, you can join the National Guard and get your citizenship in a very accelerated way and have it done where they vetted and double-checked to make sure that you were not a criminal, illegal immigrant here to create a problem. And it will sort and shift itself out. It's a very efficient, very affordable, very effective way. A lot of us who spend our time following the rules. If we don't have everybody else following the rules, then why do it?
Yeah, thank you. I'm really pleased to hear that most of my fellow candidates appreciate and recognize the value of immigration and immigrants in our country. Most of us actually probably come from some form of immigration. Our country was founded that way. Our mayor is an immigrant. And they do provide a tremendous amount of economic benefit. They pick our food, they clean our buildings, really, really important, and are our mayor. And the question is legal or illegal. And so putting the resources into combating illegal immigrants, I think we have to follow the law. That's very important, that whatever the law is, we need to follow the law. And I believe our Sheriff's Department has stepped up to that and has agreed to participate in any ICE raids that are called. I am concerned about our police department resources being used in that way at this time, given the short nature that we have.
Thank you. All right. So the next order of questions will go to Mr. Moline first, Mr. Miller, Ms. Henjum, and then Mr. Burns. You'll have 30 seconds, well, actually it says 1 minute, to answer this question. If you don't win, how will you continue to show up for your community?
Thank you. That is a great question. In my research of a lot of our issues, what I have been finding is that a lot of them stem from what our state legislator has been doing. I would like to go and be an advocate for our city council voice up at that level to ensure that we are maintaining our local home rule the way that it was designed in our Constitution, Amendment 20. So you will find me somewhere along that path advocating for our local economic rights here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Mr. Miller, Mr. Miller. I've already not won, and I didn't stop becoming a proactive person in my community, advocating against the convicted felon sex offenders being in my neighborhood, helping the church next to my neighborhood, keeping my neighbors informed. I'm even on the radio talking and discussing about many of these things, and I do have meetings with the mayor and many other political and even committee-type people and other people in other organizations to try to make it better. It is the best we can do, how we can do, because as a whole, the city tends to ignore those of us that are individuals if we're not donors, part of the committee, or some kind of big, large organization. So by ourselves, they do leave us astray and on our own and don't care about what we care about.
Question. It really is, and I've thought about it a lot, actually, because not only will I continue to serve my community, whether it's by serving on boards or continuing to be engaged in the multiple incredible things that are happening in our community and places of service, I actually look forward to playing with my grandchildren and taking care of my family in ways that I haven't been able to for the last 4 years, because this is a very, very big job and it takes a lot of time. And if I'm not elected, I will really enjoy not being working 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week, both at City Council and on the Board of Utilities. But I will continue to be a servant to my community because service is in my blood. Thanks.
Sure. So I will go back to my volunteer work. Namely, I am on the City Subcouncil for Law Enforcement Advisory, which I find great benefit. I also have other volunteer agencies that I work with. I am the chair of the Board of Directors for Reclaiming Hope, an organization which provides assistance to women coming out of prostitution. I am also on the Board of Directors for the Southern Colorado Human Trafficking Task Force. I ask you to look that up if you have a concern in that area. We provide advocacy, proponency, and education around all areas with regard to trafficking. And I also have a personal enjoyment that I have. I am a juniors wrestling coach at a middle school level, as well as a juniors judo coach, that I participate with a number of other former athletes in coaching our youngest generation to be good Americans.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take just a little bit of a break, so don't go away. We're going to have some more questions and answers coming up. I would like to take just a moment to thank our co-sponsors. Tonight we have NAACP Colorado Springs and Studio 809 Podcast. They're wonderful sponsors with us, and we appreciate them very much. The League of Women Voters is a nonprofit and nonpartisan organization. We do not endorse any candidates. We present these to our community to help you become more informed. Part of our mission is empowering voters and defending democracy. If you are someone that is civically engaged, think about joining us. We are not just for women, we are for men too, and we do enjoy having them there, especially when we have to carry things and put things up. So, if you're interested, please see us afterwards. We could use a few more volunteers to get out there that are civically engaged in defending our democracy. And I would like to thank our voter service team. We have some of them back here, Candace and Sandra, helping out, collecting your votes or your cards tonight. And so that's my little spiel is. So we're gonna give you guys some more questions. I hope you're ready. So here we go.
Ready? Okay. For our next question, order of answering will be Mr. Miller first. Oh boy. Ms. Henjum, Mr. Burns, and then Mr. Moline. And you will have a minute, yeah. LETAC is perceived as having no teeth due to the charter created by City Council. What is your view regarding making LETAC more effective for our community?
All right, so I think isn't there somebody up here that's on LETAC right now? How is it not effective? How does it have no teeth? I honestly don't know. I'm not on that committee, am I? But if it has no teeth and it's just something just sitting there wasting our time and our money, then maybe that needs to be changed as a whole. I didn't know it didn't have any teeth. And if it has no teeth, then what's the point of it? Why don't we take a good look at it and see why it has no teeth and see if there is no point in having the darn thing? Or if it gets revitalized and rebuilt properly by somebody that actually seems to care instead of just wanting to sit there and stare around and do nothing all day on some nonsensical committee with the 10-hour meeting for only 10 minutes of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Henjum?
Yes, thank you. The commission was formed actually right after the George Floyd murder. And I think the intention was to really pay attention to use of force and a number of other concerns that were happening at that time. The reality is that the police force and the police chief do report to the mayor of Colorado Springs, and we are, as I said before, a council-mayor form of government, and so the mayor has the responsibility to make decisions about the police force with the police chief. In that regard, the only authority that City Council has is for approval of the budget. We certainly have a few other minor legislative things that might relate to law enforcement, but not. So our legislative services has actually been evaluating all of our commissions and boards to make sure that in this transition of government that we've had, that we are in fact using commissions that in fact that really will help us do legislative work. So I think it should be considered that LETAC should be moved under the office of the mayor.
Thank you.
So I have been on LETAC for 2.5 years, and the question's correct. We have no mandate to force the department to do anything. I will tell you that all the members on LETAC have a desire to bring about positive change with our police department and improve police services. Everybody has a different perspective. Some are almost to the point of being anti-police. I myself want to speak out against the anti-police narrative. But we all are committed to a political solution to improve that system. Having said that, we do interface with the police department, and we do review their budget, we review their plans, their policies, and a lot of times it's a matter of just asking questions of the department. Hey, tell us about this and explain it to us so we understand and can communicate that to the community. I really I wish the police department was in better relationship with LETAC. My perception is their behaviors toward us is a little bit holding us at arm's length. I would like to see better relationships between all members of the community and the police department, and I use that as a platform to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Moline?
Yes, unfortunately, I am not super familiar with LETAC. In my research, I was focusing more on what are the roles of City Council. We have the budget, we have land use, and we have some legislative abilities. So while it's a good advisory board, if we are spending money on it, I think that it needs to be moved and adjusted. Otherwise, I would like to focus on what we can actually do as far as our public safety with the budgets and taking care of our affordable housing. And I think that there are more important things that we can address to take those proper actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next question, you'll have 30 seconds to answer, and the order is Ms. Henjum, Mr. Burns, Mr. Moline, and then Mr. Miller. You said 30 seconds? 30 seconds. What are your qualifications for city council?
Having served for 4 years. You learn a lot. I have learned a tremendous amount. I don't think most people come into this position. If you haven't served in it, you can't know. Fortunately, there are a lot of people to help you learn. In addition to having done it, I think my listening, my collaboration, my engagement with and responsiveness to constituents makes me very qualified to serve on city council.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very valuable question. So I have an undergraduate degree in business. I have a graduate degree in business. I can do budgeting, planning, and read statistics for my educational background. I'm a 30-year veteran of the U.S. Army as an Iraq veteran, so I have great empathy and connection with our veteran community. As a National Guard member, I also was a senior disaster exercise planner for things like forest fires and how we best respond to those. So I have a great background in that. As a police officer, I have been in every part of this community and almost every school, and I have worked with all of those areas effectively. So I have a great history in this city, and that would be a beginning of my qualifications. I have to stop.
Thank you.
Excellent question. I was a government contract specialist. So my entire job was buying road services, buying trash, making sure our buildings were properly taken care of. I've done everything from buying pencils all the way to building houses on islands. I've seen it all, and I did that for over 10 years, so I think that makes me pretty qualified to come in and make the appropriate changes to maintain and take care of our city. Thank you.
All right. I know right from wrong. I could balance a checkbook. That right there alone makes me better than 99% of all elected politicians in the last 20 years. They can't even balance a budget. They question every stupid thing unless it's got a bunch of people coming up after them. Look, I'm a father. I live in the community. I don't have a fluffed up resume and a bunch of crap I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to lie to you. I know right from wrong. I can do the right thing. I don't need to go to some special training to listen. I know how to listen and do what needs to be done.
Thank you. The next question, order of answering is Mr. Burns, Mr. Moline, Mr. Miller, and Ms. Henjum. You'll have 15 seconds. It's a two-part question. Yes. Yes. Yes or no? Yes or no, and then why? Do you support making the city attorney an elected position? Yes or no, and why?
No, I think it should be an appointed position. That's a high-skilled position that requires a very specific set of skill sets within the legal profession, and so it should be picked by a committee.
Thank you, Mr. Moline.
No, for the same reasons.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yes, but with qualifications or stipulations for being qualified in the legal essence of things. I am not a lawyer. The legal system takes specialists for it. So yes, elected, but with qualifications.
Thank you.
No, because of the qualifications, and the city attorney is approved by city council.
Thank you. Okay. All right, the next question, order Mr. Moline, Mr. Miller, Ms. Henjum, and Mr. Burns. Okay. Transparency, and you'll have 30 seconds. Transparency is critical to public trust. Openness about campaign donations and the role of special interests is of concern to some voters. Do you support any campaign finance reform? Are there any donations you would not accept?
That is a very difficult question. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to finances. I think it's very clear that the Supreme Court has ruled that finance donations are a form of free speech. So I would not want to get entangled there. As far as not accepting donations, I haven't accepted any donations except for $2 from my daughter's tooth fairy money. She found out that that was a way that she could support me, and so that's what I've accepted. Thanks.
Mr. Miller?
Okay, so here's what I think with it. No, special interest groups and organizations should not be funding any campaigns. Politicians for elected positions should not be bought and paid for. And if you have to be bought and paid for by developers or any other things of the nature, which I will not accept, have not accept, and do not accept, then you don't really believe in what you're running if you won't put your own skin in the game. That's firmly what I believe and how I think of it. If you're not funded by the people, you're not for the people. And if you're not putting your own money on it, you're not part of it.
Thank you, Ms. Hendrum.
Yes, in terms of reform, I would like to see dark money go away and PACs so that you actually can see what money a candidate has accepted. In terms of, for myself, I have accepted absolutely no money from developers because of the perception and because of the concern people have. Furthermore, I have over 230 unique individual donors who have contributed to my campaign, and you can go onto my website and click a link and you can see who has donated to my campaign.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to see reform. I'd like to see all the candidates at a base level of resources where their ideas and their background are what you vote on. Unfortunately, that's not the rule set laid out. It's who can have the biggest and most name-recognized campaign. I do accept donations, and here's what I say everybody that I talk to. Here are my specific values, here are my guidelines. If you're in support of that, so be it. I would not accept campaign donations from anyone that was not constitutionally based and didn't follow our American laws.
Thank you. All right. Next question. Did you say that was the last question? No. Oh, okay. All right. You will have a minute to answer. I put 10. A minute to answer. All right. Order is, you just send it, right? Where are you? Okay. I was right. Mr. Miller, Yes. Yeah. Mr. Miller, Ms. Hendrum, Mr. Burns, and then Mr. Moline. You'll have 1 minute to answer. If elected, how do you plan to stay close to your constituents' needs and keep them engaged in the community work?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm glad I got this one. I'm actually excited about it. Who's sick and tired of their Tuesday meetings with city council at 11? The middle of the day, we're at work. We are busy people. City council, we don't work for them. They work for us. Why not Sunday after church? Why isn't that the hour? We go meet in the park and sit there as a community discussing and talking. It's a good question I would have for the incumbent. How come nobody's even addressed or thought of this as a whole so we don't actually, hang out with each other? Why not talk, have a little barbecue, come up with some solutions for a lot of problems in our community? Make it better. Be better. It's pretty simple. We all live here. We all want it better.
Yeah, so I'm very proud of how I've engaged with constituents in District 5 outside of the meetings where we actually pass the legislation and do the work on the dais. That is the least of our job. To me, it is about meeting with, responding. I've had town halls. I have a newsletter with now over 600 people who've signed up, and I do a monthly newsletter. I have town halls. I meet with people. I respond. I have meetings at City Hall. I go to people's houses and meet with them. I bring city employees to look at their sidewalks. It's very easy, really. You just basically are responsive, and you make sure that people know how to get in touch with you, and when they reach out to you, you reach back out to them, and you develop a a relationship. And I think that's one of the reasons I have 230 individual unique donors, because I have built those relationships and people know that if they reach out to me, I will get back with them.
Sure. So as an elected official, it is my job to be available to all the people of the city. I'm retired and I can meet at any time you want to. You want to keep the meetings at one time? I'm there. The other thing is to continue door knocking and listening to citizens, as well as I am looking forward to things like, in addition to riding with the police department, riding with our fire department, riding on a snowplow, getting with our city works at the base level to hear what our city employees, their actual needs are. And through that, be available. I'm willing to stay after as long as anybody wants to talk, and I'm looking forward to serving the community.
Yeah, so I would be for moving town meetings to an hour that more people would be able to attend. I would like to see a relationship with the media built so that when things are going through that are important to the constituents, that they're made aware of it. There are things like polls. I would hold polls on my website, cassmoline.com. I would do town halls, and then I would reach out to everyone and get back to them as soon as I could. So I think that it's, like Nancy said, pretty simple. You just go out to where the people are, you talk to them, you let them know what's going on, and you make sure that you're listening and you respond. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question order is Ms. Henjum, Mr. Burns, Mr. Moline, and then Mr. Miller. You will have 1 minute to answer. Colorado Springs Utilities is looking to diversify its resources while meeting state objectives for environmentally responsible, sustainable practices. Within the City Council's role as the CSU's board, what vision are you advocating that Colorado Springs Utilities adopt to meet the challenges of our growing community? Ms.
Yeah,
Henjum.
thank you. This is probably one of the most important questions of the evening, because our four service utility, which is electric, gas, water, and wastewater, are essential to running well as a city. We are right now actually in tremendous challenge in providing and generating the energy we need currently and for the projected growth. Given the state's mandate for carbon reduction, 0 by 2030, we have a real challenge right now with, in a conversation we're having with the state around, we have decommissioned one coal plant. We have another one that we've promised to do by 2030. However, based on what's happening at the national level with our president and decisions around renewables and battery technology and all the technologies, the cost that it will provide or that it will cost the ratepayer to be able to respond to those energy needs without keeping a coal plant for a little while longer. Those are the kinds of challenges that we're facing right now. So it's a big thing for us to balance, and the Utilities Board is very important.
Yes, so we have some very big issues with regarding utilities and some very big jeopardies to the citizens themselves. We are facing increasing energy costs. That is due in large part to state mandates. I would be an advocate and a proponent against those. But in regards to the four services, water, gas, wastewater, and electricity, there's another fifth service, which is internet broadband, that is now being considered an active part of the utilities. The bottom line is that we need to have efficient energy. I am a strong proponent for nuclear energy, although that is a few years in development. That is one thing that will greatly increase our energy supply. Keeping in mind that our energy grid right now is very challenged as we adopt electric vehicles and we have businesses that adopt power-sucking AI and computer systems that will overload. So big challenges, pushing back against the federal and state levels, and with the goal of keeping energy and utilities at their very least for the citizens.
Mr. Moline?
Yeah, so this is one of those issues that I've researched that I've noticed has been caused by the state pushing mandates, forcing us to solve their problems. So the decommissioning of our coal plants, we already need electricity. We're growing as a city. We need more electrical power. I would be a proponent for looking into nuclear. The technology has come a long way in the last 10 years We can build a lot of these structures off-site and load them and put them in place, as well as adding them to the capacity later on for future needs. So lowest price technically acceptable is not always the best way to go. Sometimes it's worth looking into our future infrastructure, and I think nuclear with our energy is the best way to go there. Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
All right, I don't have any problem with renewables, but it shouldn't cost you an arm, a leg, a kidney to have your lights on. Let's get rid of some of these access fees first. For most of us, it's $100, $200 every month for access fees. Let's trim that out of the way. That's pointless. Why does utilities have a, $1.2, $1.3 million advertisement budget? What's that even for? Do I get a choice in utility companies? Let's trim some of the fat. That can bring down some of the cost. I know Tennessee's working on some micro-nuclear test things and some things like that nature. They seem pretty promising. There is better battery technology and many other things. The state's not our daddy. We do have home rule authority. Let's push that to the limits to see what we can do to keep it affordable for our citizens here with utilities. We can make it better by doing better and looking at all the avenues and approaches, including cutting the cost and the waste within the utility company, because I don't even know why they need to have Teslas owned by CSU Utilities.
Thank you. All right. You will have 30 seconds to answer the next question. The order is Mr. Burns, Mr. Moline, Mr. Miller, and Ms. Henjum. 30 seconds. Federal directives have recently demanded an end to diversity and equity programs. What are your views on the role of diversity and equity efforts in city government?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I think DEI started as a good idea, but pretty soon got weaponized, and that's a challenge. I actually follow an organization called FAIR, Foundations Against Intolerance and Racism, and they ascribe to what is called MEF, merit, fairness, and equality. So I would look at bringing people in that are merited to do their jobs and are skilled to serve the community. And for people that are disadvantaged, as many are, additional assistance and resourcing.
Thank you.
While it's important to recognize the inputs and value of all of our community members, I think that first we should be prioritizing effort and credibility, what you've done, your ability to get the job done and do things appropriately. I don't want to put people in positions that may put other people at risk, and so I think building it off of their resume is better than building it off of their skin color. Thank you.
All right. Super fun. My family looks like a bag of Skittles mated with a bag of M&Ms. We have everything and everybody in our family. It is a strength. It is great. It is good. There's lots of different languages, lots of different religions, lots of different ethnic groups. There's nothing wrong with it. It shouldn't be something used to make people feel bad or do other things for other people in favoritism. Just move on with it. Be good people. And if you're a racist, you can go kick rocks. If you're a sexist, go kick rocks. That all sounds stupid to me. Don't be that way. Be better.
I think I hear what all of my fellow candidates saying, and I would say as well that all people deserve to be seen, heard, and respected, regardless of who they are, regardless of their identity, of their cultural background, of their socioeconomic status. It doesn't matter. We're all important, and it's just that simple, and everybody should be treated the same.
Great, thank you. All right, for our last question, you'll have 30 seconds to answer. Mr. Moline, Mr. Miller, Ms. Henjum, and Mr. Burns. Do you feel that our police and firefighters have adequate mental health care?
I don't. I think that I have a lot of buddies who were police officers who have suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder because they weren't able to get a lot of the help that they needed on the job. I think this is a very important issue that we should be addressing to make sure that we're keeping our first responders and emergency responders safe and up to the task of their difficult jobs they do to keep us all safe. So I'd be proponent of helping them more. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
I'm sure it's not. I might just be a Marine, but, I'm sure there's not enough mental health type things that are needed for law enforcement. I am almost certain. But with this type of thing, this should be held accountable to who? That's right. It should be held accountable to the mayor. It should be held accountable to the chief of police for not coming through for law enforcement. City council doesn't have a lot of push and pull until the budget comes through to be like, hey, make sure it's on there. If we're not balancing the budget, at least do the right thing with it.
It is known to be two sets of professions that absolutely have higher challenges with mental health. And part of one of the things that the fire department has done is to create a culture where it's okay to ask for help. And I'm very proud to say that we voted just last year for our fire department to be able to participate in a state program that will help them receive those services. So it is very important that we provide those services, that we make it okay to seek those services because they are in tremendously traumatic-inducing professions.
Oh, wow. I can talk for a long time on this as a retired police officer. When I began my policing career in 1998, not only was there literally no mental health services, but it was actively discouraged. If you felt you had to go talk to somebody, it was because there was something wrong with you, and that was a stigma, and it was terrible. As we began to realize the damage we were doing to our first responders by not providing that, things came online such as the peer mentoring program, readily available counseling for critical incidents, and this should continue. That work should continue, as I have found it valuable from having been in critical incidents, and I would like to see it continue.
Thank you. That is the end. We will now ask each candidate to finish with their closing statement. We will go in reverse order from the opening statements. With candidate Miller, we'll have 1 minute for his closing statement, followed by Mr. Moline, candidate Henjum, and ending with candidate Burns. Mr. Miller, 1 minute.
When you look up here at everything, I know you're the citizens of the community. You're looking for a representative. No more career politicians. No more of the same old stuff with a different face. When you look up here, you check and look at everybody's financial campaign sheets. You see who's funding who, and that's where the thing is always. Follow the money, right? You look at these people up here, all of us. Would you trust them if you were in trouble to keep you safe? Would you trust them with the keys to your car? Would you trust them with your checkbook or access to your bank account? That's the most important thing ever, because that's basically what you're asking right now. You need to look at this and really look at these people. Is it a career opportunity or something to fluff a resume, or is it somebody up here that wants to just do the right thing and make it better by trying to be better? I'm Jim Miller. It's District 5. It's Jim Miller for Colorado's the website. If you want to make a donation, do it. Remember, it's up to you. It should always be the vote of the people. It's not always up to the local government. It's also up to the community. You're the community. You're in charge. It says we the people, not them the system.
My name's Cass Moline. I got involved because over the last 13 years of me being here, I saw this city explode into something almost unrecognizable. Some of these areas you can look out and all you see are rooftops for miles and miles. I want my girls to be able to grow up in a city that they're not lost in. I think Colorado does the small town feel really well, and I think that we can grow responsibly to be able to protect that feel. And I do not want to see us grow into a giant metropolitan district that they think we will, as in Denver, and I want to protect our own rule here from the state, and I want to ensure that we have accountability and transparency in how our funds are utilized for you guys. You can always reach me at cassmoline.com. There's a little forum there, and I'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm Nancy Henjum, and I have a proven record. And I'm very proud to say that I have been endorsed by our Police Protective Association and by our local 5 firefighters, Colorado Springs professional firefighters. Additionally, as I mentioned, I've had over 230 individual unique donors, most of whom are District 5 residents who believe in me, who trust in me, and that's based on the relationship and my responsiveness and my listening and my working with people for the last 4 years. I've learned a tremendous amount in the last 4 years. This is a really, really difficult position, 2 positions, Board of Directors for CSU and City Council. We are going to have possibly 6 new council members, 6 new. We need experience to stay on the council. You learn a lot in the first 4 years. I want to bring that 4 years back. On April 1st, vote for the first name on the ballot, Nancy Hingham.
Very good. I'm Chris Burns at electchrisburns.com. One of the candidates asked, who would you trust with your wallet? Who would you trust with your car? Well, for 24 years, you trusted me with your life. As a police officer, I served you in that capacity. You trusted me with your property to patrol your neighborhoods. And more importantly, you trusted me with your children as I guarded them in the schools as a school resource officer. I have led a life of service both to my country, to my state in the National Guard, and to my city as a police officer. And now that I've retired from those, I am prepared to continue my service to the city as an elected city council person and put all of my experience and leadership to work for the benefit of the citizens. I ask for your vote, and I thank you very much. And please look me up at electchrisburns.com.
That wraps up our live and virtual forum for Colorado Springs City Council District 5. These recordings are available on the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak Region website at lwvppr.org, on our YouTube channel under Live, and on the League's Making Democracy Work podcast. I want to thank you for joining us this evening, and especially thank our candidates for your time and sharing your views. Thank you very much.